Let's get into this. So, I think with what I've heard from the introductions here, like we'll have a lot of rich comments and experience with, to start out, so we're going to be talking about our self-concept and how important that is and what, are some of the ramifications of our self-concept. But the background, that I started with here is about our beliefs. So I believe, from what I've read and observed about myself, and our beliefs are self-fulfilling prophecies. They're kind of the basic foundation, right? Like, what's a good, what's anybody think of a good example of a belief, like
just that you can't do something. I can't do that.
Okay. Yeah. Like what? I can't
ride a motorcycle.
Okay. Right. So do you literally think that, or are you afraid to try riding a motorcycle? But at the same time, you kind of know that's just a belief. So is that where you're at, literally, or
no? I ride a motorcycle. I'm just saying you can't. If you tell yourself you can't do something, you have that belief already, that self-fulfilling prophecy that you can't do it.
What are some positive beliefs?
In concept I read was like everybody, I think it was in an NLP book I read, everybody's making this, they're trying to, Jordan kind of mentioned this too, trying to make decisions based off what they think is a good decision, right? So like, no matter their decision, their intent at the time, like how many times do you ever sit there and think like, I'm just gonna make a bad decision right now, right? Like, let me analyze the circumstances and let me just make a bad choice, right? Like, we make bad choices sometimes, or what we might consider as bad choices, right? But at the time, we thought that that was the best choice, right? So knowing that pretty much you can like apply that out to as far as you want to go with that, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's making the decision that they think is the best choice at the time. So that kind of goes along with like, would they, just because that choice is being by label is not good, right? They're still making that choice from a good place in their mind.
I would kind of add to what both Tucker and Eric were saying, in that I really have a firm belief that all behavior is, we engage in behavior to meet some need, and sometimes it's a faulty behavior, and sometimes we know it's not the best choice, but we can't think of a better way to meet that need. And I've worked a lot with adolescents who are in trouble and going to juvie, and when you get to talk to them and know them, they're just trying to meet some need. They're either trying to get attention, or they're trying to get power, or they're trying to express their feelings. And I think that even as adults we do that. We are probably better at moderating, but I mean that's a firm belief that I have.
Okay. I've heard that stated as like every behavior has a positive intent.
Yeah.
So everything we engage in is, we think we're going to get. That's the reason why we're doing it. We're gonna get something that we think is good. But yes, like sometimes the means, the avenue is unhealthy. We're trying to get this, but the side effects are bad. So you're saying.
If you want to take a few extra seconds, I will relate in context the most powerful belief for me.
Okay.
In 1979, I was 29 years old, and I was a 4 to 6 pack smoker of cigarettes a day, non-fuming. And I suddenly woke up one day and went to the mirror, and I said, "My friend, why do you have a death wish?" And it really woke me up. So I began to reprogram my mind to be a non-smoker using self-hypnosis techniques. By 1982, I had quit smoking. But I went way beyond that because I began to say, I am well. I am optimally well. I am free of sickness. And I became a whole food, plant-based person. So I haven't been back to a doctor for 36 years, going on 37. And every day when I wake up, all day long, throughout the day, I remind myself, I am well. I am optimally well. I live a sickness-free life. And the juxtaposition of that is that I do a lot of my work in a coffee shop that's around the corner. And I hear conversations every single day that remind me, it's so clear that the average human being has a concept of sickness, but they have no concept of being well and sickness-free. And that's the best example I can give you of self-fulfilling prophecies.
On
What you
itself.
do, you have to practice positive thinking.
For
in that
sure.
way.
And it can be a
Build
little-
it into your belief system. That's how it works. If you practice being negative, you're gonna be negative. And everything's gonna be a bag of crap, you know? If you practice positivity and you can do attitude, that's the where you will be. You'll end up there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I believe exactly the mind.
Excellent.
So maybe it's more important to think about what you want versus what you don't want. Because that thought then will generate
Absolutely.
that
Yes.
want.
All right, thank you for that. Okay. So, next item on the list here is why is self-concept or self-image important? So, I believe that, having read a couple books on this topic, that the main determinant of our behavior is our self-image or our self-concept. If you think you're a good person, I think I'm a good person, you'll act on that. If you think you're a bad person, I kind of believe, you touched on the criminal thing, the elements. I really believe that people who do get stuck in the system and commit criminal acts, have had, just so many beliefs that they're a bad person that they just kind of get into that. They get into that trap. They can't get out. There's things about like, I'm a good student, or I'm a bad student. If you believe that, kids will get that instilled pretty young. And I have a example here. This is something I read about too. Like, some children were administered a test, and they didn't really take the real results, but they took these children who were poor students and told them that they had scored in the 99th percentile on the test. And then they measured the result of that after they took that test. And those children's grades and performance improved like incredibly. So just being told that they were good kids and good students, changed their performance. So an example in this book I read is if you think, people are mean or evil, or you think that about the world, well, you can kind of get away from that. You can go to the mountains, you can go out to the desert, you can kind of take a vacation and go to the beach. But yeah, if you dislike yourself, if you have a negative self-image and those negative voices, you can't get away from that. You can, and I think that's probably a main reason why a lot of people self-medicate, take drugs, get drunk, shut down those voices, numb themselves. So, yes.
What I find is that saying no or don't do something does not work. But if I replace it with something positive, then I have something to reach for, some place to go, a plan. And I find that real more transforming or transitioning than to say, no, you don't eat that chocolate. It's I really want to eat this because it's healthy, it gives me more energy, it feels better, blah, blah, blah.
What you pointed out, the basis of that is disempowerment. Because if you tell
Yeah.
yourself you can't,
True.
you're truly at odds with yourself, because eventually you're going to end up resenting the person who tells you you can't. And if you're telling yourself, then you have an automatic blame shame circle.
Yeah, except somebody tells me I can.
I do it
Just
anyway.
watch me.
Yeah.
Termination.
That doesn't apply.
Yeah.
In my experience, that does not apply internally. That principle
Different,
does not
yes.
apply internally.
Yes.
So.
For the people in NLP, don't they say that the mind doesn't process the negative? So if you don't litter, your mind only hears litter. They don't hear the don't.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't process the negative.
Or like what you become really clear about is what you'll gravitate towards. If you get really clear about what I don't want, you're just creating these very detailed pictures of what you don't want. And then when you when you're unconscious, you're not thinking, you gravitate towards that because that's what's clear in your mind rather than what you do want.
Like working with children. Stop doing that, don't do that. And they continue doing it. It's, yeah.
Learning,
I think the
continuing to
feedback
learn.
is being like kind of negative in that you're telling them what you think. But I think
Yeah, I
it's
just
the
mean feedback
curiosity.
from life.
Well, I'm thinking it's the curiosity that I'm really curious about your story, about your life, what has worked for you. It's not all about me teaching you, the way, the light, the truth, etc.
You said, I have the answer as the definition of arrogance earlier of spiritual leaders, I believe you changed.
Yeah.
I have the answer.
Right, and I think a lot of people start where they're very humble, but they get in this area where I do have the answers because there's so much positive
The underlying
feedback.
belief there is that my way is the only way.
Well, not necessarily, but
If I have
It
My
the
way is
answer,
the best way. or
my
something
way is
like
the
that.
only way. My way is the
Well,
best way. My way is better. If you change one word as my way is
I don't
a
think
way.
it goes that far.
You don't think it goes that far?
No, because, I mean, I could name names, but, and they're still amazing human beings, and they've written so many books, and they're awesome. And I don't know that they're saying there's one way to do it, my way or the highway. It's more like, I'm the authority, I'm just the authority. If you have something that you're working on, come to me and I'll help you solve it, or I'll solve it for you. Does that make sense?
Sure, but why does that equate to arrogance? If they are an authority, does it equate to
No,
arrogance?
we're the authority of ourselves.
Is
I
it
agree,
that they
yeah, no,
differentiate?
Yeah.
So they're saying that they're the authority on you.
They're the authority, yeah. They're the authority and they're going to solve everything or
God complex.
show you. Well, I mean, I feel like we're all gods and goddesses, but not in an arrogant way. I mean, that's what I'm saying, just trying to distinguish between arrogance
Sure.
and humility. And the words and things are very similar, but it's like this lens that you look through.
Well, your definition of arrogance may be different than mine too.
Very true, it could be. But so I'm expressing what I think arrogance is
Yeah.
and how that differs from the person who remains humble.
I think it would be important for a leader to see that somebody, like you're saying, that they develop too much arrogance, right? Or like feeling that they're different or superior to other people. Maybe they're gaining these beliefs because they see positive things that they say help other people in a positive way, but if they realize that they are learning as much from the other person as they are projecting out to the other person, then you maybe wouldn't develop that kind of sense of that other person needs you, because really in essence you need that other person. It's the interaction that's creating the experience for both of you. Take home from what Sage is saying is we all want to make sure as we develop ourselves, right, to not look at ourselves as differently and realize that all the people that we're learning from and that we are experiencing life with on a day-to-day basis, these are all of our people. We're all here to help each other, right? So as we change our minds and change our beliefs and realize that we can make these modifications and build ourselves up as people, it's our duty to just realize that we are still the same as everybody else, and we can pass on this knowledge to others, and the other people are the people who we're learning from as much as we're teaching too. Is that, am I off on?
Sharing and partnership.
Okay.
Let's see. So one more quick thing kind of before we get to an exercise is, this is a topic that I thought was good. I threw on here. It was from the book. Is what's the difference between your self-image or self-concept and self-esteem? The book made the point that if you have the self-image of something, say an example is, I'm lazy, but you value, hard work, you value being a hardworking person, So if you see this disconnect, contrast, that's going to create a slow self-esteem, because you're gonna kind of judge yourself like, well, you know, you value being a hardworking person, but if you've had experiences or you've been told or you tell yourself that I'm lazy, then that's going to create this conflict, the judgment. That's where the voices of judgment come in. So anyways, that's where we want to like examine our values, and then that's where we start with creating a self-concept that's in line with our values.
Yeah.
Thing is like kind of doing a little bit of exploring of what your self-concept is. Like a lot of it is subconscious. So if you think of something, you know, kind of simple about yourself, or not simple, but something that's not all encompassing, that's more of like a quality you have. I'm honest. I'm hardworking. So if you take a second to think about something like that, you kind of feel confident about, how do you know that about yourself? How do you know you're confident?
By past experiences.
Yes.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Feedback.
We have references, yeah. Feedback, memories.
Just reactions you get from people, if they smile, you know you were kind.
Okay. So yeah, you see an image of somebody smiling at you, and you're like, yeah, that told me I was kind. Okay.
I would like to see that from within versus without.
Okay.
Because somebody's interpretation may not be who you are.
I agree.
A person who's shy can be interpreted as being arrogant or stuck up, whatever, when in fact they're shy.
Right.
So how you define yourself and through your actions, that's what's important, not what somebody else thinks.
Exactly, and they're the things that we can control, right, too. The more we like judge ourselves based on other people's opinions or how we read other people, right, they're just reading us and then basing their decision off of everything else that's happening in their life, right, which we have no control over and is really not relevant to us. So like, what's relevant is that internal stuff and what we can control. And the more we kind of build our self-concept and beliefs around things that we control, then the more stable we can slowly build up our self-concept, right? So we don't base it off of things that we can't control.
And that's where it kind of comes back, I think, to like what she was saying is, you know, it's all about your own internal representation. Like you're just stating that as something you did, or, you know, maybe you view it as like, I got there because I dedicated myself, I focused a lot, which those maybe things you obviously probably valued or you still do value. Yes.
You know, I have a really good example of exactly that thing. So recently there was a conversation on Facebook about helping children in school. And I volunteer at my grandson's school. I go in and I have a background working with special ed kids and with children who are emotionally disturbed. So I wrote this little thing that, well, you know, here's some of the things that you could do. Go in, volunteer at the school, and go in and help these kids this way. And somebody responds, bragging, are you?
Really?
I thought, no, I'm just telling you my experience and what works with children. If you want to go in and help them, fine. If not, okay. But it's just what you said. Is I gave my experience and what works with kids, and somebody comes back and thinks I'm bragging about it.
You know, one person could be sharing, right? Another person is.
Yeah.
And remember, that person was making a decision that they thought was a good choice too.
I'm just sitting there being really humble.
They thought they were saying the right thing, right? A good choice.
Okay, so next, again, I got this from the book. This is what I thought would be a cool thing, useful, is like an exercise. So think of and I'm kind of, some of this I'm doing a little bit verbatim from the book because I just thought it was really good the way it did it. Think of a quality, capacity, or attitude that you see yourself as having. And let's make it a positive quality. Think to yourself, I am blank. Let's take a second and see what comes to mind. It should be a quality that you know to be true, or in other words, you have pretty good confidence in yourself. And it's one that you like. Some examples are kind, honest, considerate, steady, flexible, diligent, loving, cheerful, loyal, dependable, spontaneous, thorough, etc. So if we take a second to do that. So then, we want to split up into groups of 3. And then we each take a couple minutes with our eyes closed to like think about specific memories that reinforce or make you or help you know or are memories and are references to that quality about yourself.
And say those things,
And then-
like bring them, write them down or say them out loud.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a couple of minutes to like, just sit there with our eyes closed and think of these things. So we're kind of probing our subconscious. We're getting in touch with this. We're asking ourselves to go over this a little bit. So this is the path. This is the way to strengthening your self-concept in the areas where what you value, what you like about yourself. So if you value being kind, then you're going to think of, and if you feel good, if you feel pretty confident, like, yeah, I'm a kind person. Then we take a minute and think about those memories of, in the beginning, Tim, he gave us a pretty good story, some examples. He was looking in the mirror, and that's a pretty strong reference for his self-concept of being a person who focuses on being well, being healthy. So I'm sure he has other examples, because throughout, that was in 1979, you said? So for however many 30 plus years, you've been living that way.
Yeah, I could give a whole seminar on
Well, there you go. So
Or
you've
start a
obviously
website or
got a
something.
pretty strong self-concept of being a healthy person. You have a lot of history with that. A lot of references. There's no doubt in your own mind, right? You're a very healthy person. Health is paramount. And something you value, obviously. So yeah, we'll just take a couple minutes. So just quickly review, think of a quality. I am, whatever, something you like about yourself, something you feel pretty confident.
And then think of the beliefs.
And then
that-
think of how you know that about yourself, your memories. Okay, here's something that's kind of cool to do. So, without describing the quality, the I am, can you describe your memories or your representations that you have to yourself of that quality? Okay.
I just wrote down a whole bunch of different experiences. I have a really good relationship with my boys. I have 2 grown boys. They can talk to me about anything. And one situation that kind of was evidence to me that I possess this quality was when my son came to me and told me very matter-of-factly, without fear or concern, that he identifies as pansexual. And when I responded, I was like, do you feel supported? And he goes, oh yeah, I knew you wouldn't have a problem with that. So, my students, I've worked with a lot of difficult students, and especially now with the refugee students, there have been many times when I've just sat with them, especially the ones that don't speak much English, and I have sat on the floor in the hallway with students and cried with them because there's not a lot of communication that happens when they speak Swahili and I speak English. But being able to be there with them and sit with them and let them know that I'm connecting with them in that way.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Great descriptions. Okay, anybody want to try to guess?
Empathetic.
Describing?
Compassion.
I think empathy or compassion.
Yeah, compassionate is what I wrote, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Who wants to go next? Anywho, I don't know. Yeah.
How about if you've been told all your life that you're something and I find that in my life, and I have heard from others that this is true, that you become what you're told. Like a disease or
Yeah.
and you, that becomes your thought process, so it's hard to break out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, if you've been told that, yeah, that's definitely going to be a propensity for you. I like to kind of believe that, now with adult thinking brains, like we can kind of be aware of those things and do our best to, that's kind of what this exercise is about, like, teaching us how to develop, the positive self-concept. And yeah, if you have that and had that in the past, that's definitely going to be something that is going to be an issue for you.
Well, about the positive, look at it, like if you become, this is what came to me, if you become what you've been told, if that's a belief that someone has or you have, then you could flip it and be like, well, if I become what I've been told, I can become what I tell myself too.
Yeah.
Right? Like
That's a great point.
Right. Yeah, it takes a lifetime to get to those words.
But dedicated with the working on it, and like I believe that like the more like happy and like positive and stuff I have coming into me, like the more those are outward portrayals of like what I have become, right? So like I try to catch myself when like I literally walked around, this was a while ago, with a ring of like this counter ring. I bought this lap pull ring, like count your laps on a thing. And I went through like 3 of them. I was counting every negative thought that I had. It's where like my personal development experience started. And I had this ring I would walk around for months every night, kind of hide it when I went to class and stuff, right? Because I didn't want people to see this ring on me. And I would just count. And my thing at the time was just like see like how many negative thoughts would come to mind, right? If I wasn't even trying to like change them or alter them at the time, I just wanted to see. And just by like being witness to them, I was tracking how many I had, and they would just go down automatically without even actually like applying effort to like tell myself positive things. So
I found that those things, when you become aware of them and they don't serve you, they don't truly serve you in life. When you become aware of them, they fall away automatically.
yeah,
Just like
you like break apart the logic of it, right? Or like and it's just automatically your brain just like, okay, that's not effective, proven, doesn't work, or proven whatever we prove to ourselves, and then just kind of like fall away.
It's wonderful to hear, because that's what I do. That's what I've been practicing at for a long time. And I know from my own experience that we can grow into, it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort. And it takes a lot of repetition and practice at it all the time. But if we allow ourselves to make that effort, we can grow into a place where we become very jealously guarding over our positive thoughts so that no negative thoughts can get in anymore. And that's a wonderful place to be, because it's a place of joyousness, it's a place of happiness. Those negative thoughts, when they creep in, they will tear you down very quickly.
And if you think if you can create these negative thoughts, why can you not create positive thoughts?
Yeah.
So to add to that,
So-
yes,
Well, every negative thought
neuroscience.
has a positive corollary. It has a positive opposite.
Neuroscience would say for every negative thought you have to say 3 positive thoughts to counter that 1 negative thought, and then 5 positive thoughts to rewire the brain from that negative thought.
So I have several pages of declarations of positive thoughts that I keep in front of me all the time when I'm working. Because I can go into any group of them and start saying them, you know. And although I don't have hardly ever any negative thoughts come in, it's just, that's who I am now. You know, that's who I want to be. All the things I declare that I want to be is the things that I keep declaring all the time to myself, reaffirming. It's powerful. It's very powerful. So I'm just thrilled to hear you say that.
Awesome, awesome. It is, I agree.